In this video, I analysed 2 minutes notice from helluva boss. Hope you guys enjoy. Alright, we got 3 minutes and 36 seconds to get through, so let's just get straight into it as per usual. Okay, we're pausing 2 seconds in, you know that's just standard on this channel. I do want to say that the build up to this musical number, whether it's the build up to the crescendo, the chorus, or even if it's something as small as these 2 to 3 seconds that lead up to the actual song's beginning, it's amazing, really. It does a great job at building intrigue. As the blue clouds of smoke slowly depart, we realize that what we're about to witness has a really somber tone. It's going to be very depressing, just by the lighting alone and the silhouette of Fizzarolli that we can see. The lighting speaks volumes in this moment. An otherwise pitch black room being ignited with a singular spark of blue light. And the blue is really being emphasized since color can evoke emotion. The choice to have a blue light in that room immediately gives us an idea of what this scene is going to be and the tone that it's going to have. And as we can see, we only see Fizz's silhouette. It makes him seem empty and mysterious. It's a great setup to a scene because there's also symbolism behind that light. Not only is it evoking the emotion that it wants to instill, it's also symbolic because of the color of who it's representing. What other character do we know is blue, optimistic, and very present in Fizz's life? Ozzy! We can imagine that light to be insinuating Ozzy's presence. Since Fizz is in this room and it's pitch black, we can say that that's maybe Fizz's soul or Fizz's being and his environment. His soul is shattered by Mammon, therefore he's a shadow and a shell of a person. That's why he's a silhouette. The environment reflects this because it shows, since Fizz views himself as obsolete, his environment will also be viewed in the same vein. But then, this beacon of hope, the one thing in his life that brings him value, is Ozzy, him being there, and obviously he himself, his color scheme is blue, therefore the light is blue. So not only is that light reflecting the mood, it's also symbolizing a very important factor in this entire situation, and the one true individual that pushed Fizz to fight back against Mammon and get out of there. So the only reason that he's in this position right now is because of Ozzy, and this little setup scene on the stage right now shows where he was, but then that light being Ozzy came into his life, and as we see in a minute, the scene that we see now slowly fades away as he comes into the spotlight, and then he begins to sing his absolute heart out because of that one beacon of hope in that dark location that pushed him out of that mindset and out of that environment so he could view the world as it is, which is beautiful now in his eyes. And then that one spark of light from that cigarette, which symbolizes once again Ozzy's presence, but also that light is now spreading and infecting Fizz's character, or the shadow of a character that he's built himself up to be up to this moment, which he's now personifying and replaying in this physical form, acting it out on stage for all to see. Wondrous. See what I say about the build-up? First, you have the fog or the clouds or whatever, they depart and they show this dark room with the one singular light, and then the light from the cigarette, a zoom-in, up-close shot of Fizz in the darkness, smoking that cigarette. It's very slow-paced, and this song, it really is, it builds up to then the giant, literal giant FU that Fizz vocalizes in about a second or so. I'm just so impressed by how phenomenal this build-up is. It's really getting me into it, how it's having a magnetizing effect on my attention span by pulling me in with this long, dragging silence. I'm honestly quite impressed. helluva boss it's in another realm, man. I don't even have a visitor's pass for that realm, let me tell you. It's so impressive to me, and I don't know why. I'm just kind of a fanatic for anything that's moderately good.
I have wasted time.
Great camera angle making Fizz look small, and also that ceiling fan just slowly cutting through and revealing him. There's also the fact that that blade from the ceiling fan acts as a point of measurement for Fizz. It's a point of reference. We can see how big that ceiling fan is in comparison to Fizz by the way that the camera's directed. It makes him seem so much smaller than he actually is. Well, I guess that's the power of putting a camera in a certain place. It can frame the scene in a completely different light.
I have seen my use. I have packaged and sold every part of me.
Now onto the actual lyrics. So obviously we can see what's happening here. We can see the abuse that's going on as it surprisingly quickly runs through these images of obviously what you can see. But now the lyrics. We can hear through the vocal direction how passionate Fizz is about this. He's really emphasizing those words, and you can hear that pop, That really crisp and precise popping sound that's being emphasized through the pronunciation of P during that sequence. It really shows us how passionate Fizz is and how much it's affected him just by the way that Alex is singing. It has so much emotion behind it, drive and motivation, but also you can feel that willpower. It's as if he's gritting his teeth trying to get through these lyrics. His body's having a physical reaction to what he's saying because he's so conditioned to not speak his mind and just go along with everything that when he's finally making his thoughts vocal, his body is physically attempting to stop it from coming through. It's like he's talking through his teeth like this. There's so much energy being pulsed through each and every word. The amount of willpower this takes for Fizz to say, after, like I said, being so conditioned to keep his mouth shut and just nod his head and go along with everything. We literally see that in this episode where he just goes along with everything that he says and accepts all the insults and all the criticism that has no real value. He just takes it and runs with it and does everything that he can, stressing himself out to attempt to appease. And as you may be able to point out when I ask you this, is there any true value to what Mammon says? Especially seeing, you know, the person that he is. That's an obvious and hard no, especially considering that factor, since in comparison, Fizz is so much more put together by having different interests, hobbies, a partner, someone who he can share his life with, whereas Mammon is just chasing an unachievable goal all the time. I want to have loads of money, all the money ever, infinite money. He's the richest being in hell, but because of the sin that he represents, he just wants more and more all the time. So much so that it's no longer greed, it's gluttony. And you may be thinking, hey, Cryptid, what do you mean he's got so much more interests and he's so much more established? 2 seconds ago, he was having a mental breakdown, and the only thing that he ever does is perform. What do you mean? Well, here's my counter-argument to that claim that probably one guy made, and that is that Mammon is so unbelievably empty because he only chases money, he's got no other interests, he literally doesn't want anything else. He only wants money, and obviously money itself is toxic, since having so much, especially in his case, can make you a completely different person. I mean, we don't know how he was before, but we definitely know he's not the greatest now, and the only thing that he chases is money, therefore money is the only thing that's made him this person. Whereas Fizz, he chases love, an achievable goal, and a very healthy one at that. You can never have so much love. You obviously have to see some negatives sometimes, but having a positive relationship isn't the worst thing. He's not pursuing something that's so unachievable, since having that mindset, especially when it comes to something like money, which can just be inherently toxic to many people, it just makes you obsolete. So really, Mammon is the only one who is worthless, because he only wants one thing, and that's his entire personality. Whereas Fizz is being held back by the one thing that Mammon wants. You know, being so empty, he can only manipulate others to just get what he wants, so he feels even more empty because he's just making more space for himself all the time by constantly chasing something that he can. So at the end of the day, Fizz thinks Mammon's all that, and that he's holding Mammon back, but really, Mammon is holding Fizz back from enjoying other things, such as new hobbies, his future husband, his friends, all these other things that Fizz is interested in. Being this colourful individual who has so many different things to relate to, it really flips it. So in summary, Mammon is the only empty one in this situation, and he's so empty that he's using manipulation to stop Fizz, the colourful, bubbly, and funny, charismatic person that he is, an individual with so much potential and value, and holding him back from what he actually wants to do, which, as I established, is all these different things. So really, yeah, it's completely flipped. Fizz thinks he's holding Mammon back, and obviously the opposite is true. There we go, let's move on.
Suffered a lifetime of abuse.
I think it's very telling when we only see his shadow in that scene. It's a physical manifestation of casting a shadow over something. Many people use it to describe good things, putting a shadow over good things and making them bad, but also, Mammon, through Fizz, that's why it's Fizz's shadow, he uses Fizz and manipulates him to hide all of the things such as this that we see on screen, that he casts a shadow over, so people ignore it and he forgets it. So that's a very interesting symbolism there. Fizz's shadow is casting a shadow on bad experiences to cover them up, so no one suspects that Mammon is doing these bad things. Isn't that interesting how that's been used? That this scene could have been interpreted that way. That's the great thing about analysing. Well, that secures my purpose, unlike Mammon.
I have lost myself.
He's really dramatising this scene and making it so much more extravagant than it actually was. But that's a great thing about being on stage. It brings this horrible experience into a musical theatre space. See what I did there? I'm really giving those upcoming Broadway stars watching this a good laugh. Because obviously, if you've been in acting before you've done acting, you'll be like, this is exactly how things are done. They're very dramatic, and the sporadic movements are making things so much more entertaining than they actually were. So it does give you a little bit of a giggle if you're watching it from that background.
I have worshipped at your feet.
Hear how the music's rearing up, ready to just go boom, and then just throw everything that it has at you. But taking this scene one at a time, clip by clip, and then this bit. We can see that Fizz is obviously bowing down as a dramatic gesture, and then in the background, if you're in the helluva community, you're probably aware of this, that is a spider web, and that is Mammon in the middle, which is symbolizing how Fizz is caught in his web. Just like a spider, even though we're supposed to represent, what is it, a Christmas tree?
I think it's a jester, actually.
Cool, thanks, fizzarolli. A jester, it paints him in the light of being this giant Reaper spider thing. What am I talking about? I mean, the way that fan is hoisted in the back, it kind of makes him look like a scorpion. I don't know. I'm really trying to make an insect reference, but I just can't. So I'm just going to ignore it. But he kind of looks like, he does kind of look like a scorpion. Maybe a little bit. Actually, yeah, the fizz bots kind of look like claws. Are you seeing what I'm saying? You know, like the fizz bots, they look like claws, and then big fat body because he's Mammon, and then at the back, that fan kind of looks like a tail with a stinger on it. Come on, I'm trying to make something out of this. But anyway, it shows that Fizz is caught in his web, and that's why he's got his hand up there, because he's kind of symbolizing that that's where he's being drawn to. He's being sucked into that web. But obviously, when you get trapped into a spider web, you can't escape. You are stuck, solidified in that moment, and you're just there. Just kind of stuck a little bit. So that's what it's saying. He, Mammon, is the great elder tarantula, and he has this giant web that he's built, and he is the center of it. It's also a symbolism to web of crime, because obviously crime, greed, money, blah, blah, blah. And Fizz in this moment has his hand up to symbolize that he's being sucked back into it, kind of like, I can't help but be starstruck in a very morbid way by the idea of just being there and kind of maybe having that money. Maybe Fizz is a bit stuck in that money loop. Fizz is a good person, yes, but he could also fall into a cycle of greed at some point. Maybe he had in the past, and that's why he kind of signed that deal to work with his idol. And the only reason that he stayed with it was, one, probably because of a contract or something, but they don't have souls, so they can't make contracts. Wait, actually, yeah, he quit at the end, so it's obvious that this was a choice thing. He could have left at any point in time, but he stuck with the abuse for a reason. What is that reason? Maybe because he was entranced by greed. Wealth, money, fame, the whole lot of it. He could have been either, and he was just kind of caught in that web. And then he finally escaped, and he can't help but look back and go, is it a better option? But then, what does he do?
And here I am standing on top of the world.
He stands up, and he keeps his head high to show that he's better than falling to his knees and submitting to that web, to being caught in that web, and that spider being able to feast on everything that he's ever been and ever will be. He's not allowing it to happen anymore. He's standing up for what he thinks is right, which is his freedom, and also partly to show that the other employees of Mammon have complete free reign and can leave whenever they want to. So he's really taking a stand and making a stance to show that he himself doesn't want that abuse anymore, but also, hey guys, you can leave if you want. I left and I was his biggest product. If you're under Mammon and you don't like how he treats you, just leave. I know you might need the money, but the money you're receiving, despite how big or small of a sum that it is, it's not worth the abuse that you have to take. And by the way that it sounds, the more money, power, and influence that you have, the worse it is for you, the more abuse you have to take, and the more mental and physical trauma that you have to experience. And not only that, the pressure is so much higher on people like Fizz because of that reason that I said before. Since they're making so much money and being paid loads, there's a lot of stuff going into them, because Fizz was obviously being paid a lot just to do all this stuff, because if he gets paid more, it gives Mammon an excuse to push him further so he can make even more money for himself. So really, it's an investment. The only thing that Mammon's actually smart with is money. And let's be honest, from what we see, he barely does a great job at that either. It's basic economics, dude. Come on, Mammon. You're better than this, man. I mean, you're not, but that's your only purpose. I'm not complaining. He's great at greed.
With some bitches to defeat.
A little bit of direct humor to liven things up, as if the theatrical expression and acting that he's doing right now isn't enough. And by the way, whoever's controlling that spotlight, you know what, props to you, because you know exactly where to point it. That is kind of your job as a lighting guy, so, you know what, whoever's in universe, the guy, you know, the little demon, probably a greed demon or something, pulling those strings for the lighting, you know what, you should get paid more. I know you're doing your job completely correctly, and I shouldn't expect anything more or less, but still, Mr. Demon Man, here's a round of applause. Round of applause!
I applaud you.
I don't know whose voice that is, but it's someone out there.
I played the game, I've won it all.
Sorry, I just started dancing then. I really need to listen to what he's saying so that I can analyze it, but the song's a bop. It's an absolute bop. He's explaining how on face value it looks like he has everything. He's explaining how he has all these things and all these amazing experiences have occurred, supposedly, on the surface, but with a different emotion as to what you'd expect to hear from such words. Yeah, all this stuff has happened. Usually people will be like, I've done this, oh, they bought the doll, what? But Fizz's tone gives a completely different view, just by the way that he's saying it. It's the same sequence of words, but with different pronunciation and motive behind it that's being conveyed through the emotional performance that really shows us that this experience is more than meets the eye. Get it? There's a Transformers reference. I don't think there's many Transformers fans in the helluva community. Anyone out there? Yeah, congrats to you. I like Transformers.
They've screamed my name. They bought the doll.
Look at his face when he says they bought the doll, and then we see a live demonstration of what that entails. It's truly showing us, the audience, and obviously that audience in the actual series, that all of this is great and all, but it's not what he wants. He just wants to be happy and experience a peaceful life. And who are we to argue against that? You can say, oh, he chose this, you went into this industry, you knew the stakes, blah, blah, blah. But then again, you're approached with a really great deal. You might be going through some hard times. You know, he was brought up quite poor, actually. They owned a circus, but they were never higher class. They didn't have the ability, his family didn't have the funds to purchase great things if they didn't benefit the business, which is great on face value, but then you realize you have kids, and when you have kids you need to buy them treats. So just saying. So when that opportunity arises and it sounds so great, it's like, finally I'll be recognized as a usual member of society. No longer am I just an imp, a lowly imp. I'll be an imp that has a business and an influence, and when an imp has influence, they're seen as more than the other imps, than everyone else even. To Fizz, especially experiencing all the injustice that he has in his life, it's like going from imp to overlord on the hierarchy, which obviously will never happen because you have to be a specific species to be an overlord. In fact, the sinners are the only beings that can actually rise the ranks, because they can go from sinner to overlord, whereas Goetia can't go from Goetia to deadly sin, and deadly sins can't go from deadly sins to king. I mean, maybe they could actually, maybe that one's a bit arguable, but obviously imps can't stop being imps, and while sinners can't stop being sinners, they can be overlords, which makes them above sinners despite being the same species. You know, it makes sense. It makes sense. That's just a really great side note, and I don't know what tangent I went on, so I forgot. I sure hope I finished my thought. Did you understand that? Let me know.
I've seized the day. Now I've got one thing left to say.
The amount of emotions that I just viewed in that 3-5 second range of footage is downright hilarious. If you look at his facial movements, he goes from smile to crooked smile, you know, a bit of a fake smile, to concern, to a frown while he's trying to get that thing off of him, and then to a smile when he realizes, oh, it's coming off now. It's so funny. Whoever animated that, congratulations, because you made me laugh. And I didn't laugh originally, but now I'm laughing.
Fuck you!
There's the big reveal. What we've been leading up to for a minute. Exactly a minute, actually. That's cool. An entire ass minute led up to that. And it sure as hell delivered. Helluva delivered, actually. Helluva boss delivered, actually. Helluva delivered by a boss. Alright, I get it. I'll leave now. I understand. I get it. But can we just talk about the visuals? I mean, that's probably the most important thing right now, because what? Giant cloud of smoke and it says FU in it? Well, that was pretty well executed, if you ask me. And, you know, the visuals were, you know, they're pretty good, you know, just a standard job. Nothing crazy, only a giant cloud of smoke with a bunch of particles. Really hard to do.
2 minutes notice, fuck you!
Dude, the choreography in this scene is so great, and the animation is fluid and all that stuff, and then you hear the lyrics. And it is a bop, an absolute bop. The beat as well, just the beat itself's amazing. But then you realize you're just kind of repeating the same word. You laugh to yourself and then continue to dance. You know, it's still good. I love the little tricks that's going on in the animation. You could just see how much fun that they had with directing this. The way that the camera's angled and the way Fizz moves, the objects that he stands on and the stuff that he throws. And one important reason really is that they picked the best character to sing this and have it be performed in this setting. Since Fizz, obviously because of his robotic enhancements, he's incredibly volatile. He can do pretty much anything he wants, actually. He can twist in ways that other characters can't and adjust himself to any position. He's a really great character for this because the amount of potential that he has because of his build and his backstory.
Time to quit and smell the roses. Say goodbye.
And then he just lobs a giant bouquet of flowers across the stadium just for no apparent reason. Kills a bunch of his fans, probably. You know, that's the fizzarolli that we know and love, that's the Fizz. That's my Fizz.
While I look you in the
Dude, that spin, that was a majestic spin. And then the middle finger, obviously, with the blurred background, really focusing on that. Just take this in for a couple of seconds. Half a second of looking at my middle finger, just really showing you how much of an asshole you are.
Interesting song. Wonder what fucking this is about.
It's about you.
If you listen to Fizz in the background, he's just going off right now. And then there's this sequence where Mamm's being an absolute idiot, showing how incredibly ignorant that he is. Not once in this entire song, despite from the end, does he notice, wait a minute, that kind of looks like me. Maybe it's a me problem, the person he's talking about. He's so oblivious because of how self-centered that he is. It takes a direct call out for him to actually listen, because now, oh, you've mentioned my name. You know, before you were just kind of insinuating it, and I didn't notice because I'm an idiot, but now you've directly said it, and you know, directly saying something is kind of an easy way to get someone to listen. Peak conversation skills. I don't know why we don't do this more often. For idiots like this man. Actually, idiots like this mam. Get it? Because mammon? Get it? Because I said mammon. But anyway, we get that, and it just shows his character more. What an absolute D-I-K-K. What I meant to say was D-I-C-K. But then Oz jumps in and just clarifies, you know, hey, by the way, it's kind of about you. You should probably listen closely to this. And Mammon, he's not a clue. He's an absolute buffoon. And then he just, so the way he just kind of grabs that popcorn and just absolutely devours it gets me every time. Ooh, this is a really great sequence. He's been thrown once again into this environment where it's very dark and dull, and the visuals show us Mammon, the big Christmas tree himself, beating Fizz while he's down. Another great example of camera direction, because it zooms in on Fizz and makes him seem very big, and then he gets kicked around by Mammon, and then he's on the floor, and he gets stomped on by the villain himself, and it zooms out to show him to be this enormous titan that dwarfs him and makes him seem so small. It's a great use of emphasis to show us, hey, Fizz ain't the strongest, you know, that there's people above him, we knew that, but this is how far above him they actually are. It's not just a case of, yeah, the more powerful, power scaling, all that. They actually show it visually that he's enormous. And then that sly little laugh. He redefines what helluva has shown us to be a demon as of far. In Viv's universe, demons, especially hellborn ones, are shown to have a diverse set of emotions. But Mammon completely disregards all that by one being a hellborn, or maybe a fallen angel, but still one that's been born in one of the two realms that has his own mind and everything and his thoughts. He takes that idea of, oh, they can be compassionate and they can be loving, and just chucks it out the window and says, nope, giving us that feeling of actively representing our idea of a traditional demon, one with no remorse at all for their actions. And we know this isn't just a case of the deadly sins either. Both Ozzy and Lucifer, and Queen Bee in a sense, can show compassion and love and will care for things. But Mam's personality is so much different. It's definitely more traditional to what you'd imagine a demon to be, which really, if you think about it, is an amazing thing regarding his character, because it makes him more unique to the series. So maybe that's a plus, but that's on Viv's side, not his. I do not support Mammon. Mammon. Never have I ever supported Mammon, or Mammon, or Mammon. Never. Never in my life.
I have suffered for profit and suckered for fame.
Just hold up a minute. Hold up. Just give me a second. Did anyone see that spin animation? Maybe I'm just a sucker for spin animations. And did you hear the lyric as well? He said, I have suckered for fame. Well, look at me. I'm being a sucker right now for this animation. You know, it's good animation. I can't express how many times I replayed that bit. Dude, the spin! You know what? Someone asked me, hey, what do you analyze? Do you analyze the media itself, the plot, the mannerisms of the character, or do you analyze the animation, or the things behind it, you know, the camera direction? I went, why do I have to pick one? Not only do I talk about the character's emotions and body language, I talk about the animation itself in a meta perspective and say, whoa, animation, because it takes a while, and this is that type of animation, blah, 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 blah. And then I talk about the camera direction, another meta thing. And then I talk about the plot. I do a bit of everything. What's the word? Dipping my feet in to different pools. In this situation, if you were ever wondering, the plot is a puddle, the camera direction is a lake, the appreciation for the team is an ocean. You know, it's so much more important to appreciate the team. It's just so much bigger.
Made a fortune you could steal.
Now, obviously, one thing I'm not going to do is congratulate Alex Brightman on his performance, but I will say You know what I'm gonna say. It's freaking good. Anyway, the visual storytelling there of Mammon's shadow just absolutely eating everything up in a gluttonous way despite being greed. Just absolutely devouring the entire screen and casting his shadow upon everything that it comes across.
I've had enough.
There we go, visuals. That's him literally breaking free of those chains, meaning that he's breaking free from Mammon's control, so he can now have freedom and be the person who he wants to be. Great symbolism, so great in fact, that need not much to be said about it, since it's so easy to explain, yet so subtle. How about that?
Hit the wall. I'm tired of taking your calls.
See how it says master on the phone? There's little things like that sprinkled in where it just shows us and gives us a bit more of an insight on the type of relationship that he and Mammon have. It is not friendly, definitely, we knew that, but it's more than not friendly. It's honestly cult-like. He's latching on to this idea. It's incredibly important to think about. Also, on the phone there, I'm not going to say exactly what it said, but the two options were pick up or pick up. He has no choice. It's just emphasizing the fact that he is trapped in this situation and he feels trapped even. And now he's finally saying, I'm not trapped anymore. I'm going to escape this and I will leave in a sea of glory. And obviously, he does.
Thing to say, hey, fuck you.
There it is, another moment. Fizzarolli himself saying the F word again. I'm so glad I don't censor these things, because that'd be a lot of work, but then again, it's literally just adding sound effects, so maybe it's not as much work as people who make, I don't know, film productions. Helluva Boss, maybe? Having a little bit of gratitude in this moment.
I wish I'd said it sooner, fuck you.
I wish I'd said it sooner. That statement has a lot of weight to it, doesn't it? It is just thrown away in the lyrics there, but when you look into it, it's like, yeah, because of all that time he's gone through things, all he's ever wanted to do was get out of it, but he was caught in this loop of constantly attempting to impress his master. He felt so trapped despite the fact that he could leave at any point. He knew he'd get backlash for it, but now, as we see at the end, he has Ozzy to back him up. And then, quite obviously in the last scene, the one thing that Mammon had against them, they were just completely like, okay, never mind. It's better for Fizz if he gets out of the situation. Therefore, I'll tell you, I love him. But yeah, that's kind of how it all panned out. I should do a thing where I explain episodes of Helluva Boss. You know what? Yeah, I should do. That'd be so funny if I just explained the whole thing in my terms, just for people to have an absolute laugh at, because I'm an idiot.
Cut you off just like a tumor. Hope you die.
Alright, Fizz, we're really getting into the realm of, maybe that's a bit far, maybe a little bit. But then again, what am I saying? The only reason I said that is because Oz was like, whoa, you're going a bit far here, Fizz. But you know what, Ozzy, just think about it. This guy has thrown knives at your husband. Maybe he has a right to say, maybe you should die for once, maybe not me. A perfect moment of a robotic demon with his tongue sticking out and his sharp teeth just shouting into the air just to die! Die, please! Ugh. It's as if he's only got to this point on the second verse because he's realized that all the stuff that he's saying is not getting to Mammon. That's why he mentions his name at the end. He's taken that mental note throughout the entire song that he's still not noticed it. Mam's still not noticed. He doesn't know. Fizz finally realized that he's not noticing and was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go off my head then. Completely opened up and just started saying everything that was on his mind. And somehow it rhymed. Isn't it weird how that works?
Kiss my ass goodbye, you cunt.
I really like the idea of showing it through the Jumbotron. And isn't it weird how it's all held up by webs? Everything is just web-shaped wires or web magic, something like that. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say at this part. I like the way that's set up.
Fuck you.
Oz is like, I'm showing too much here. I don't want people to know that I'm here. I don't want people to know my presence.
Have you ever felt sick and tired of doing the same shit every day with your anger brewing?
Now Fizz is going off. He's in the audience and he's just talking around, trying to relate to people. Like, have you ever felt like that? You've been held back from your potential by your work life. You can't enjoy things that you want to enjoy and you can't make the work life the life that you want it to be. He's trying to relate to his fans, to these people, to the audience, everyone, all these people, to get them to sing with him and agree, and definitely not defend him, but maybe defend him on the socials, but I don't think they'll go against Mammon anytime soon.
Eating shit for a boss that you're sick of obeying. If you ever felt the same, let me hear you say it.
Dude, Fizz is doing a wait a minute. Look at that frame. What did I land on? I mean, by the looks of it, it's about to be the stage. But anyway, Fizz is doing a great job at relating and getting people together to unify and go against, you know, whoever he's talking about. Because we don't know who it is. You know, he has to say the name of the person before we can truly have a face on ourselves. Because everyone is too stupid to understand that he might be talking about his boss, you know, Mammon, you know, his boss. But no, it's just a song, guys. And then he says the thing.
Did you really think I was gonna stay bending like bent over with your fist in my aim?
I didn't mean he was going to say that. He says something later on. That's not the thing that secures that it's Mammon who he's talking about. Just want to say. Just want to make that very clear. Look at the faces when he says that. Person on the left is just high. Person in the middle and on the back right, obviously shocked. And then person at the very front on the right, just like, ooh, I'm quite interested by this. Beetlejuice. It's black and white. The coffin is black and white. Attention! And he's enjoying it, obviously, while Fizz glides through the arena, making his point known and just having that moment of euphoria for himself. He's expressed everything that he needs to, and now he's got it all out. He's vocalized it, and he's honestly feeling quite good. And obviously, we can't forget about Blitz just because it's a song. We've got to include him because he's still there, so continuity points. Because sometimes in songs, they just completely forget everyone who was in the scene. It's just all, if it's a song about one person, you know, everyone else is kind of ignored. But I'm glad that they kept Blitz in just to ensure that the continuity was still there. You know, he is still being the sniper. He will stop if anyone tries to latch onto him, maybe a hellhound-looking demon. Here it is, it's about to happen. Look at Fizz's face. He's got a constrained smile because he's like, should I say this? Is it safe to say? But then he realizes who he's got with him, obviously. Blitz, you know, Blitz is the only guy who can ever take down Mammon. He's got Ozzy by his side, and that definitely won't be leaving anytime soon. See how he looks around just like, oh, it means me. His face absolutely drops from that smile like, what? It's like an egg. And then he looks around left and right like, you talking about the fizzies or oh wait, no, it's that person over there. Points to Wally Wackford. Yeah, he's talking about you. I'm Mammon. Time to get angry. Get him, Fizz! Well done, buddy. A great end to a great song. And then the big moment. Big moment's about to happen. Might as well play it.
Yeah!
He has a temper tantrums. Just starts shoving people, you know, as you do. Eats his popcorn angrily like an absolute cherub. Oh, he gets reassured. That blush. It's great to have that support network, especially from his perspective, because, like I said, the only real reason he's doing this is because Ozzy was like, you've got to do it. You know, I've got your back. You're protected. Say what you want to say. Get out of there.
Thank you all so much. You know.
Oh, by the way, here's a note before he says things. It's because Mammon rules through fear, doesn't he? He runs his operations by making people afraid of him and showing I have all this power. It doesn't matter if I can throw a punch. You know, I'm probably too chubby to throw a punch. My arms are too short to reach you anyway. But I have power, which is the most important thing, and you don't want to mess with me. So I'll just absolutely torture you and do whatever I want to ensure that you stay. Because really, that's how it works, especially with physically abusive relationships. Obviously, I can't speak on this because I've never had that experience. But from what I hear, those experiences, the negative ones, are kind of the things that keep you there in an odd sense. It could be a mix of emotions, perhaps they're quite manipulative and just switch proper quickly. It's like, well, he's being nice to me, so, you know, there's no way he could ever be horrible, and then obviously bad happens. You know, I don't want to kind of bring this stuff up since I'm not very well versed on it, but I'm just telling you what I've heard in passing just to kind of get it verified a little bit, so I'm not going around saying stuff like I ever would.
And I'm so glad to bring you all one last show.
Oh, no, don't do it, Fizz. It's such a beautiful moment because the music is calm and it's just kind of building up to this moment very smoothly. And he's having this heartfelt moment where he's speaking from his heart because he's wanted to be a performer before Mammon. Ignore him.
'Cause now...
So he's getting ready to say it, and he never says that he's going to stop performing entirely. He's just saying, well, it's going to have to end here with Mammon specifically. I'm not going to be this big figure anymore because I'm not under this giant IP. But I still want to perform at certain places, such as Aussies, you know. Oh, I didn't realize it ended that quickly. So, sorry. Perfectly cut screams right there. But anyway, the big moment happens. It's out there now. He quits. And then, you know, other big moment happens. And Ozzy, like, two titans fighting. And obviously, the only thing that they say to each other is, yeah, get it, Cryptid, get it. Yeah, absolute buffoon. But yeah, that's the end of the scene. I love Helluva Boss, as you may know by everything else on the channel. This is actually one of my favorite episodes, if not my favorite. Is it safe to say that? I think it's safe to say that. That and episode 6. So yeah, great. Anything else you want me to analyze, I will 100%. Maybe even Fizz's backstory. That one would be pretty cool. Maybe like a 20-minute, just a little short one. But yeah, just let me know. Anything. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Stay positive. Together.